You are now tuned in to Sophisticated State of Mind. We are your host. I am Sanayar.
And I am Miss Anarchy.
And we're going to sit, sip, and smoke, talk about anything and everything, but keep it sophisticated with a good old dick twist.
What are you talking about today?
And today, we are going to talk about what you would tell your younger self.
That's a good one.
Now, I know that's
a good one.
It's a good and
that's a tough one.
It's a tough one. But before we get into what you would tell your younger self, I want to ask you this.
Okay.
Is there anything, and I'm not talking about, don't say, oh, I wish I had a different mom or some shit like that, or, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, being born, is from time you're born to now, is there anything you would change? Like there was a fork in the road and you was like, damn, I should have went that way instead of this way.
That way.
Is there anything like that you would change?
Being asked that question, I'm like, if I had a little more time to think about it, I would be like, yeah, I probably would want to change this, that. But also, part of me doesn't want to change it because I feel like the decisions that we were made, you know, like the whole movie, The Butterfly Effect, right? And the decisions that we made are how we are as a person today. And so I'm always constantly thinking, you know, like if I did this instead of that, would I have met these people? Would I have known what this person, because all of it is like connected, you know, like you do one thing and it leads down to this road, to this road, to this road, to this road, and to that road, and it, you know,
oh, absolutely,
makes you who you are, and it puts you in the track of all these people and stuff, and you know, all of your friends or not friends or lovers or the ones that broke your heart, and
absolutely,
all of that good shit. And it's like, you know what, I don't necessarily know if I would want to change something because it's like I kind of like where I am right now. In a sense, but I wish I was like progressed more. You know what I mean? Like I wish it was a little farther, but
yeah.
If I had a like decision where if I could have taken a fork in the road and went left instead of right like I did, and left would have got me a little further than where I am now, then I probably would have went left. But I mean, it is what it is.
I think
I'm not necessarily sure, because I feel like if I went back and changed something, what if I didn't change it for the better? What if I changed it for the worse?
Right. Now, I think it depends on if you actually learn something from, you know, mistakes and stuff like that. Because some people, you know what I mean? But I agree 100%. Now, again, we're going to touch up on the subject of telling our younger self something.
Yeah.
But as far as if I could go back and change something, or, you know, go a different direction in that fork in the road, I actually like my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I genuinely
I wouldn't change anything because of who I'm with, my children, all that. And of course, you know, people will be like, well, you say that now, but if you did that, you would have never had that situation.
You wouldn't have known what you lost.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about now. So now, in the position that I am, I would not change anything that I did simply because I'm happy.
You like where you are.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same for me, but it's also like if I were to have went and made my life easier for myself, you know, and I didn't go through certain things that I did go through, would I be the same person? Would I be as like real and honest, or would I be like a piece of shit?
Yeah, you could be a totally different person. Yeah, you might.
Because I've had everything, like, say, instead where it was just easy for me and I had everything handed to me instead of having to like work hard, would I just be like a selfish, self-absorbed trash
the
monster,
person who
you know?
the person who you become could be a totally different person
Exactly.
if you would have
And
took the other road.
I genuinely, well, I've like come to terms with who I am, and I kind of like who I am now. And I'm learning to
I
love
agree.
myself, and
And
it's
this is
not one
just
of
the
those
beginning.
things. Exactly, and it's not one of those things where like when you learn to love yourself, you don't like automatically like I love myself. It's like no, you're learning. It's constant process, and you drop down and then you get back up, and it's all that good stuff. But it's like I don't think I would change that journey, you want to call life.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't think I would change anything really.
Yeah, I would. I've thought about this a lot before.
Maybe
so
if like
I would not.
if I could change my future a little and be like, yeah, you know what, tomorrow I'm gonna walk out and win like the lottery. I would be pretty cool. You know,
Yeah,
but
go back and
other
tell
than
yourself
that,
some lottery numbers or whatnot. You know what I'm
Maybe.
saying? But well, okay. So now that we've talked about that, let's get on what we would tell our younger selves. If you could go back, you're at your timeline right now. If you had the opportunity to go back and tell yourself something, because we already know we ain't taking that fork,
Yeah.
right? But if you can tell yourself to give yourself a head up about something, what would you tell your younger self?
I'd tell myself a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of them would be like, hold on, shit's worth it. Like it's gonna get better. Like you're not gonna
As far as what?
you're just not gonna be sad all the time. You're not gonna be, like you're gonna love your life in the future. You're not gonna be wishing that you want to fast forward 10 years from now just so you can be 28
Yeah,
and not be around who you are now. Like
yeah.
hold on, like it's gonna be better. Like and
Oh,
I
absolutely.
guess in a sense I might have told myself that, but like if I could have told my younger self like, hey, like shit's gonna be cool, you're gonna be good, like that's usually like all you really need to hear sometimes.
I got a few things that I would tell myself.
There's a lot of things I would tell myself, but another one of the things that I would probably tell myself, and I think my younger self would actually listen, if I sat there and said, yo, spend more time with dad.
Yeah.
Go out and spend that
Yeah.
extra 30 minutes to go drive to him and have a beer with him.
Yeah.
Spend more time with
Definitely,
him.
I agree with that. I would agree with that 100%.
Because it sucks because people like are gone so soon,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, all you have to look back is sometimes is just regret.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, man, like, I wish I had that extra time. I wish I wasn't being so selfish, and I wish I went and bought him the beer and we could have sat down and had a conversation. Let's go fishing again. Yeah, I would love to,
Yeah.
And then instead of saying, like, no, I'm busy. No, I can't. No, this
Yeah.
person, I'd rather go, like, no. Like, I wish I would have told myself, like, fuck that. Go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm
That's
gonna be.
like the one thing I do regret, and I guess that would be the one fork in the road thing that I would change.
I would. I'm gonna speak on that briefly. The last funeral I went to was my aunt's, and I felt like my aunt was the glue that held my family together. And on the song I made, the song I made about Smeared Tears was about my aunt and pops, and I haven't been to a funeral since. And it's not because I didn't love the people who passed away. It's because who I've become now sees death differently.
I can absolutely agree with you, because I mean, same thing. I mean, the last funeral after my dad's was one of my really good friends from this trade school that I went to. And I drove all the way out to San Diego with my friend, and we went and we saw him, and it was a wake, and that's the part that killed me, was like seeing his actual like body.
Yeah.
And that's the part, like we saw him and we looked and we both like stopped in our tracks and we're just like, oh, like,
And
it
that's
hits you, and
that's
it's
kind of
so-
what happened to me with my aunt, because my
Yeah.
aunt was very instrumental in my life. You know what I mean? Growing up, she saved me from a lot of ass whoopings. She was always care of me when I felt like I wasn't being taken care of. And that's no knock on my mom. That's just,
It is what it is.
she was like my mom too. You know.
What a lot of people don't realize is like parents are also humans. Like you're
Right.
not just taking care of children.
They're learning as they're
They're
doing it.
learning 100% as they go, and some people are just not equipped to be a parent. You know, they just had the ability to get pregnant,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it sucks that that's the situation. But I mean, like, it kind of is what it is. You know.
Yeah. So back to it. If you would tell yourself something, give me something you would tell your younger self, something that could possibly either change something or something that you would tell your younger self that you need now or that you feel would benefit you now. What would you tell your younger self? And kind of give me what age range, or you don't have to be specific, but give me something like
it would
teenager,
be more of like, yeah, like
mid-20s or early 20s.
and like exactly that age range is what I was thinking. Like in the, I want to say maybe like, I don't feel like my 18-year-old self would have listened, but maybe like my 21-year-old self, you know, 20-year-old self, if I would have like went up to her and was like, yo, like, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Live in the present.
Yeah.
Like, don't let the anxiety hold you back as much. And just, you know, like it's not going to be the end all, you know, like your world's not going to collapse if you want to go up to somebody and say hi and like start a friendship, you know, or
Right.
go and have to make a phone call or something. Like, don't be so like afraid.
Right.
Like, live in the moment, live and go do stuff, and like don't just sit in your room and hide because, you know, you're afraid to go do something without somebody. Like, go do it yourself. Go live. Go fucking do it.
Well, what the thing is, when you're, especially when you're younger, the issue is some of those emotions you don't know how to react toward them. You don't know how to.
And a lot of the times you weren't given the tools to learn how to.
Right.
Accept those feelings.
You wasn't taught to be able to express those
and
feelings.
it's all
right.
and it was because your parents weren't taught that, and it's because those parents weren't taught that, and their parents weren't taught that, and it's all a cycle, and you have to break that
generational curse.
Exactly
so to
what it
speak.
is. And you have to break that, and if you can, and you can teach your future kids, you know, like, hey, like.
Yeah, I had an uncle,
let me teach you everything that I've learned and know, and you know what? If you want to know more, we can both grow and learn together.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do for my kids whenever I have them.
I had an uncle, and I love my uncle, rest in peace. But we would do things, and we would fall, or he'll be messing with us, and he'll be roughhousing, and we would fall or hit our head or something, and he'd be like, "Don't cry." You know what I mean? You can't cry. You know what I mean? So as I grew up, like, it took, I mean, just a lot for me to cry. You know what I mean?
I feel that it takes a lot. I think we're both that sort of way, where it takes a lot for either one of us to show any sort of like true
emotion. Yeah.
Where like we can laugh and we can have that happy-go-lucky, and that's what you see us as, is like, oh, they're funny, they're chill, they're just carefree.
Yeah.
And it's because I can't show you the hurt and the anger and the pain that I'm going through, because
Yeah.
I was taught not to.
Yeah.
Because
and
I
it's
was
kind
taught,
of a
I know
sort of
you might
a
have
sign
been
of
taught
weakness.
different. Exactly. It was not only a sign of it was a sign of weakness, and it was a sign of like vulnerability. And you can't show that vulnerability because people are going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's
what I was taught, and that's what I've not only was taught, but that's what I was shown as well with the people that I've been around.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, I was taught this, and then it's like, oh yeah, but you did it, so it's true too. So like, okay, you solidified it in my head, and now I'm not going to.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So,
I mean, hindsight is always 20/20, and you can always go back and be like, oh man, I wish I would have known this when I was 19. I wish I would have known this when I was, 21. I wish I would have known this when I was 16. And it's like, yeah, but you didn't.
We always tell ourselves that, but see, and as I get older, I realize the wisdom don't come when you young, and it's for a fucking reason. You know what I mean? The
That's
older
all-
you get, the wisdom starts to hit you.
It's because
You know what I mean?
that's what your entire life is like a learning
A
experiment.
lesson.
It's
Yeah.
a learning experiment. You know, you're just
Yeah.
sitting there and you're just going through and you're learning all of these new things. Like just when you're a baby, opening up your eyes for the first time, you're learning what people's faces are. You're learning what movements do. You're like, you know, like when you see a baby and they like copy you, it's because they're sitting there and like, okay, this is what this person's doing. Like maybe this is what I need to do, and they're like,
Yeah.
and stick your tongue
Yeah.
out, and you know that sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
it's crazy because like we like when we're kids or like fucking sponges, and then you grow up and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now
You
what?
sucking the whole program in.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And
You
it's
sucking the
like,
whole
you gotta
program
be
in.
taught
And then when you
so
get
many
older,
things, and it's
you reprogram yourself.
exactly.
You know, I had to.
It's
I might.
all who you like surround yourself with, or what you're surrounded by. And if you're surrounded by shitty, negative people, most of the time
You're gonna be shitty and negative too.
exactly
you
until
know.
you realize that that's a cycle that needs to be broken. Like I don't need to be a shitty, negative person.
Yeah. Yeah. Steve Harvey said that. He said, "Man, if you got broke friends, you're gonna be broke. You got rich friends, you're gonna be rich," and that's true to life. But I might have mentioned this before, but I had a job interview and a guy asked me, "Can you give me some of your failures and how did you go about, you know, when you failed, how did you feel or how did you go about it?" And I straight out told him, I was like, it was actually two of them. It was the head guy and it was the HR lady.
Okay.
And I said, I didn't have any failures. And when I said that, he kind of looked, and the HR lady kind of chuckled, like, "Oh, this guy," you know what I mean?
Oh, he's full of himself.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I told him, I said, I don't look at it as I don't look at things as failures. It was a lesson.
Exactly.
I learned
That's
from
all it is.
everything that if I didn't, because you know the thing is, if you don't try, you'll never know.
Exactly.
Right? So I never look at something like, oh, I failed. It's not that I didn't fail, that I failed. It's more of like I learned something from the outcome.
Exactly.
It's not. And when I said that, they were like, oh, you know, oh shit, you know, like he's on to something.
Because
But I
that's
never look
it's-
at it like that. Not
it's
failure.
It's a really good answer because I mean, like, yeah, you may have technically, you know, want to say like, yeah, if you want to put it plainly, yeah, I may have failed at shit, but I don't see it as a failure. And if you don't see it as a failure, then it's not.
Yeah.
Because it's not a failure in a sense. It is a learning experience, and it is one of those things where it's like, okay, I can take from this, and I can see like where to go from there,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
like how to move on or how to learn from it.
The first time I was you know, electrician in the Navy, I got out, I was electrician, and they made it to where we had to take a state test, you know what I mean? You had to take a journeyman test to become, you know, certified electrician. And the first time I took it, I got a 69. You need a 70 to pass.
Oh, shit.
I was pissed.
Yeah, the one.
But to
that's
me,
one,
I didn't-
one fucking point.
Right.
would've
I
been
was pissed
too,
because
yeah.
of the point. But I didn't look at it as a failure. I just felt like, okay, next time I'm going to be way beyond that. And I did. You know what I mean? And I accomplished my mission but some people be like that was a failure. It wasn't a failure to me. You know what I mean? Some things we take too lightly and some things we take too serious.
That's
You know,
very good.
before I went to the
Yeah.
Navy, I took it so serious. By the time I got in the Navy, everything that was going on in boot camp was so easy to me. It was like I had guys that was like 99 on the ASVAB.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
But we taking tests and I'm the top of the class.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When we taking the test in boot camp, I'm top of the class, but you got a 99 on your ASVAB. You know what I mean? That's the difference between somebody that's just intelligent and somebody who studied.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's a huge difference. Like, I don't feel like anybody that's a college graduate, unless you are part of something that I just don't know. If you're a doctor, or you're a lawyer and you know the system better than I do, that's different. But I don't feel like you're more intelligent than me because you're specialized in the field.
No,
You know
it's
what I
because
mean?
you read books. You
Jack
know
of
what I mean?
all
Like,
trades, master of none.
none.
You know what I mean? But it's better to be a jack of all trades than a master of one. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather be that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
I could talk about everything and
exactly.
anything instead of one thing. You dig what I'm saying? But yeah.
because that's how it should be though. Like you should know a little bit of everything. You don't have to be an expert in one
No.
specific topic. You can, you can get and dip your toes in every little thing.
Oh
you know?
yeah.
And
Yeah. And
absolutely.
I'm
nothing wrong with
intrigued
that. That's
by
like the
so
best part of
much.
it. Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm
See,
intrigued
my
by
little
so much.
ADHD brain goes off on tangents
Oh yeah.
all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
I'm interested from everything from like A to Z, or if somebody's talking about it and it's like it piques your interest, you're gonna sit there and you're gonna want to learn about it. It's like, oh, tell me more.
Oh yeah.
Tell me more.
Oh yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's like, okay, this got boring. Let me move on to the next one.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
It's that. But back on track. Is there anything else you would tell yourself, your younger self, besides that? Because there's so much that we could tell ourselves,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we don't want to alter the timeline too much because
Exactly,
it can
that's what I'm
affect
saying. The
so
whole
much.
butterfly effect thing, right? And it's
Right.
like if I sat there and told my 16-year-old self, if I had like a conversation with even my 18-year-old self, right? Like 10 years ago, if I had grabbed my little 18-year-old self and me and her were having a conversation and I told her everything and what she needed to do in order to succeed in life, it's still up to my little 18-year-old self whether or not to listen.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Like you say, your 18-year-old self probably would have been like, man, who the hell is
This
this
bitch is
bro?
crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Just because you look like me don't mean I gotta listen to you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And like she had a lot of like harboring a lot of like anger and hate and bullshit, like all teenagers, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like angsty,
a little
so
asshole.
angsty. She was
little
so
asshole.
angsty, so it's such an emo kid. But I mean, like I would try to tell her what I could, like that you're gonna be okay. Like it's not as detrimental as you think it is right now. You're sobbing in your room, crying over an argument you had with whoever or whatever. And it may be that you're crying over, but it's like, dude, take a breath, relax. It's like it's not as serious as you think it is. Like you said, sometimes you're taking shit way too seriously, and like focus less on that and focus more on the important stuff, like being in the present. Like get out of your house and go take a walk and appreciate nature.
Enjoy,
and
explore. Yeah,
exactly. Go hang out with your friends and go do hooligan shit. And have those stories for when you're older. Like, oh, I remember this one time I did this. And jackass friends did that. Like enjoy that more. Go live your life. And that's basically all I would tell her. It's like you're gonna be happy. Like hold on. And, get out of your head. Like that's basically what I would probably.
Oh man, I stay in there. I stay in there.
Get the fuck out of your head so much.
Yeah, you gotta learn how to deal with that.
Yeah. And it's hard because I still am stuck in there sometimes.
Yeah. Me too. Guilty.
And a lot of the times it's because it's like, well, you know what? This person knows me the best, so I'm gonna sit there and have that conversation with the person that knows me the best.
And that's your true conscience.
Exactly. And it's like, well, sometimes I do need to get out of that and have conversations with other people and just move on and like kind of like for yourself, breathe, just fucking relax. And
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about how we was talking about the fork in the road.
Mm-hmm.
Would you change anything? And I wouldn't change anything, but I would say this: there's some things that I did that I wish I didn't do.
I agree.
There's some things that I shouldn't have done. You know what I mean?
Isn't regret a part of your like
lessons
and experiences?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And, like I said, if I were to be born with a little more either one of us, if we were to be born with a little more privilege or a little more this or a little more that, and
Should it be different?
would we be the same person? Would we be sitting here
Nah,
having these
I wouldn't.
podcasts?
I know I wouldn't.
Would we
I
even
know
know each other?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Is like, would we have the relationship that we have now?
Right.
And it's like, would I even have the same relationship that I have with my own family, or this or that, the other? And it's like, you know what? Like, I don't necessarily know if it was worth it.
Yeah.
If
yeah.
it would be worth it.
Oh.
Should I say, like, to change? Would it be worth it? I don't know. I kind of like where I am right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I I agree also.
Yeah.
But as for me, as what would I tell my younger self? Now, I don't remember quite how old I was. It wasn't that far back. But one of the things was, there's a couple things. There's a bunch of things, but that wouldn't alter my timeline so much. When Bitcoin first came out, I found out about it. It was about 50 cents on the dollar. And, I didn't know too much about it. So I asked a few people, like, you think I should invest in this? And everybody was like, no. And then I looked up and it was like $5,000, then $8,000, then $10,000. And it just kept going up. And it got to the point to where it was just too much. I couldn't, there's no way, you know what I mean? So you putting, I do have Bitcoin, but I don't even have a share yet. You know what I mean? I have fractions of a share, but at that point, right now, my life will be different when I wanted to invest. The other thing was I wanted to invest in cannabis before it became into law, because I knew it was coming, and I'm reading all these articles and it's saying invest. I did get into investing in cannabis, and I'm still invested in cannabis, but I do wish I would have, at the same time that I was looking at Bitcoin, that's when I should have jumped in.
How in like particular do you invest in cannabis? That's what I'm interested in. Is it just like shares as well, or?
Yeah, it's shares, but see, they break. What's crazy is they break that shit down into different things. So you can invest in suppliers, like people that you can invest in people that grow. You can invest in people who package. You can invest in certain companies who do experiments on it. You know what I mean? It's broken down into so much.
In all of the stages you can invest.
All of the there's investments in pretty much all stages that is cannabis.
Fucks with it.
And again, I'm invested in it, but I just wish that I would have invested in it. The sooner the better. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I feel like anybody that knows now would have wanted to do that. Like if I knew the fucking lotto numbers to the highest lottery, I'd be like, hey, future, past self, this is what it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just want to tell everybody out there, if you hear any noises, it is very hot where we are.
We're boiling.
We got fans on, air conditioning on.
Gross.
We're trying to stay cool. So if you hear anything, please excuse that. But yeah, we trying to stay cool. Okay.
Keep it sophisticated. So, ignore it.
Yeah. keep it sophisticated, please. Okay. But yeah. So I would, and here's the thing, when it comes to me going back and telling my younger self these things, I would still be becoming the person that I am and still growing as the person that I am. But my as far as the tax bracket, I think that would change.
Yeah,
but
word. If I could move up a couple, and still be the person that I would be, then absolutely I would tell my past self these things. But also, if I'm jeopardizing the human being that I am, and my morals for that.
See, that's the thing. It depends on how far back you go.
Exactly.
You dig what I'm saying? So this wasn't too far back for me. My family and everything is the same as it was then. That's why I wouldn't really change too much when I was younger, because I love my family and I love the situation that I'm in. But I would go back and tell myself that, you know, just because I know that as far as my family and everybody that I know now and people that I love is still going to be in my family.
Yeah.
It's still going to be here with
Absolutely.
me. You know what I mean? But I still think about that, and I'm not upset because I think the universe works in a certain way to where things happen for a reason, even if we can't explain them. You know what I mean? I think maybe that happened because it was meant for us to do this. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it happened.
I like that idea.
You know what I'm saying?
I like that idea.
So when you start looking, at that point, you start looking forward. Mm-hmm. You start looking at other things as well. So
absolutely,
it could have happened, yeah. But would we be here right now?
It could have happened, but you know what? It didn't.
Right.
And it didn't for a reason.
And I'm okay with that. And you
can sit and think there and wish that it had changed, and that you can go back and tell your past self. But you know what? You can't. And that's the shitty part. Is you can't sit there and tell your past self that. But that's the whole thing. Is hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
You know, like when you think about it, you now have the perfect answers for your past.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Situations and everything like that, and it's like, man, if I had that knowledge if I had the knowledge that I have now and the life experiences that I have now at 16, I would have grown up to be a completely different person, but for the better. Absolutely. But it's like,
that's not how it works.
It's not.
That is not how it works. All that shit happened for a reason, because that's not how it works. Like, with growth comes knowledge. You know what I mean? With knowledge comes growth. You know what I mean? So. But
you have to be willing to accept and want to do both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have to be willing to grow. You can't just
sit there and
wanting to grow.
How can you grow when you can't take accountability for your own actions?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How can you become a better person, or even, you know, like, accept other people if you can't accept yourself?
And differences of other people and
exactly.
And be able to, because man, as a kid, you know, I never expressed myself.
Same.
Never.
Same.
I never expressed, but now it's like, fuck that.
Exactly. And I was the same way. Like, I was so used to having to be the like the perfect child. You know what I mean? Like the child that, like, my two older sisters were already getting into trouble and blah 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 blah. So I had to be the one that, like, you know, like, stay in your lane, get good grades,
they
do your
put you
thing.
In a box.
You know what I mean? Exactly. And it was like I didn't want to cause this trouble for my parents or for that, and I had to be the good one and, you know, sit there and, like, all right, you know, like, sit on your hands, don't do anything. And it sucked because I didn't get to live those experiences and those lessons that I needed to learn when I was younger. Because I was so afraid of being bad or being, you know what I mean? Or, like, not...
Yeah, following the same footsteps and, you know, doing the same thing.
Like, so, like, afraid that, like, this is gonna, like, I'm gonna be like a fucked up person if I do this. I'm super selfish if I do this, and if I think about myself for 1 minute, if, you know.
But that's what, you know, that's kind of.
I don't want to cause an argument. I don't want to cause an issue. I don't want to be someone's turmoil. So I'm gonna sit there and fucking pretend that everything's fine and everything's good. And why should I show my emotions?
And that's some of the things when it comes to, you know, when it comes down to parenting, and not saying any parent is bad or whatever, but when it comes down to parenting, like you said, that shit trickles down.
It's not necessarily that. It's like more so like you have your shitty bad parents.
Yeah.
But you also have these people that are, at least they're fucking trying.
Yeah.
They may not know the answers to everything,
right,
but they're trying their goddamn damnedest. And there are ones that just parents that just don't give a shit.
Yeah. But you know, some parents have great kids, but will not allow them to express themselves.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And me and my wife, we don't believe in that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? One thing we definitely allow our kids to do is express themselves. You know what I mean? If you know, if my daughter want to get her hair colored, get it colored. If my son want to dye his hair, dye your hair. You know, his hair is blonde right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
But
if you want to express yourself in a certain way, do that.
I absolutely love that you do that, but you guys don't do that just in the outward appearance, you know, where it's like, oh, if my kid wants to go pick up saxophone, they can go pick up the saxophone and play it. You want to be in band? Go be in band. You want to be in sports? Go be in sports.
Yeah.
You want to express yourself that way? Go do that.
Yeah.
Not only do you guys do it in the outward experience, you guys let them do it in their mental experience as well, where
Yeah.
if they're sitting there and they're upset and you guys have a conflict. I've seen it, you know, like I've seen
Yeah.
your kids sat down. I'm like, oh, I feel this way because of this and because you did that and blah, 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 blah. I would have never been able to have that experience with my parents when I was younger.
Yeah, no,
I would have never
hell
been
no.
able to tell my mom,
Uh-uh.
you know, like you made me feel
How you
this way.
feel, yeah.
Because it would have been an automatic attack and I would have been a bad kid. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it would have been toxic in that sense. But the fact that you guys do that for your kids is just mind blowing and tremendous. And you're setting them up to be like well adjusted adults
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
be able to communicate, because that's so important, is communication, you know.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like if there was a lot more communication and you just talk a little bit out, like there'd be a lot less understandings.
We had,
Misunderstandings, I
you
should
know,
say. There'd be a lot less
you know,
misunderstandings.
before we were married, like, you know, dating,
Mm-hmm.
before boyfriend and girlfriend, like, you know, we had these conversations. You know what I mean? And I think when you go back and you think about that, like those conversations were very important. Like if we had kids, how would you react? Or if this was a situation, how would you handle it? You know what I mean? And you know, the kids come first. You know what I mean? We had these conversations. So, cause I remember being a kid, and I went to private school, but before I went to private school, I went to public school. My mom picked out my clothes. When I went to private school, of course, I had to wear a uniform, but it's like I didn't even get to pick out my shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I knew for a fact that I wasn't going to do that with my kids. It's like you got your own, you're your own person. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So when we go school shopping, you pick out the stuff you like. Regardless of if we like it or not, you pick out the stuff you like. You know what I mean? Because that's, you're expressing who you are
Absolutely.
through your clothing, through how you want to, you know, how you want to dress, from how you want to do your hair, how you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely. If my
it's
kid
a part of who you
went up
are.
to me, like, you know, my little 13-year-old kid and was like, hey, Mom, I want to get my nose pierced, I would have been like, let's do it. Let's go.
You know what I mean? Like,
All right, you want to get your ears pierced? You want a second ear piercing? Cool, let's do it. Let's go. Like,
Because-
there's age-appropriate stuff, you know, like there's certain stuff where it's like, no.
nah, you ain't old
I-
enough
you
for
can't.
that yet. You know what I'm
But,
saying?
you know, come back
Mom,
at me
can I
when
have
you're,
a beer? And you're like 13. It's like, nah.
come back at me when,
nah,
you're,
homie.
when you're 18.
Yeah,
You know, like
exactly.
a little older. And, you know,
Yeah.
there's got to be more trust. There's got to be more of that. I can understand that.
course.
But there's like obviously, you know, that's where you guys as parents and you know have your children, you guys set those boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that you just are, you let them explore and you let them express themselves is just so freaking cool, because I didn't get that as a kid, and I know a lot of people my age or that just had parents like me weren't able to get that as
Yeah,
well.
I didn't get that.
You
Like
know?
I said, I couldn't
And I think it was
express
just,
myself,
it was just
and I
the
didn't.
generation that we grew up in.
Yeah.
Is we had to like fit a certain box, and then that's why, you know, when
You
we
had to
saw
fit a certain box, act a certain way, and all of that.
exactly,
shit,
exactly.
Man. And you and that's why a
When you
lot of
saw
kids
people, like-
in my generation, your generation, they don't express themselves the way that I think the kids nowadays express themselves way different than we did,
Oh,
because
yeah.
they have more freedom of expression.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think
Because we had to always like fit this box and do it
Mm-hmm.
in a certain way, and you know, we had our parents were like the generation that had like the boomers and shit like before them, and like all of that good shit, and it's like they were thought as their parents thought a certain way and they had to fit a certain box, so
Yeah.
they brought it down to us and they gave us a little bit of expression, but you know, it still had to be contained.
how many
and-
times?
When
Go ahead, finish.
when like we were able to, not even that, but when we actually like saw people being able to express themselves, and you see like those anarchists, punks, and
Yeah.
those people that are dressing crazy or doing this or doing that and expressing themselves outwardly, and you're like, you just become drawn and attracted to that because you never were able to have that experience.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes you go overboard, and sometimes you know.
Yeah, but sometimes you can come back, and some things you grow out of, and some things you don't.
But it's all about learning it and at least trying it. You know, like I'm curious about it. I'm curious about it, and if I just do it, like pique my curiosity, and you know, it's gonna kill it.
Oh yeah.
If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't.
Exactly. And that should be your freedom to have that.
Exactly. You should be able to have that choice. And
how many times now, all right, you know, we a little older, but we've all heard this. An old person say, when I was your age, I had to walk 5 miles and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that.
I had to walk 5 miles.
I had to do this. I had to do that.
No. 10 miles uphill, both ways to school, barefoot in the snow, up to here. That type of shit. Yes.
And I'm you know, it sucks you had to do that, but listen, we don't have to deal with that in these times.
We have public transit systems now.
Things are different.
Go take the bus. We got
you know
Uber.
What I mean?
Like,
but the thing is, a lot of people don't know how to adjust to new things and adjust to new times, and
a lot of people don't like change.
Right.
You know, and I'll be the first one to make that joke. Like, I don't like change. Like, why did you mix things up? Like, it's hard to adapt to that, and sometimes it's for the better, you know.
Sometimes it is, but getting older, you learn things, and you be like,
accept it as well. Accept that the things are changing. You don't necessarily have to like it. It may not necessarily be for the better, but you have to at least be able to accept that things are changing.
I knew so many old people that was just like, I'm not getting no computer, I'm not getting no cell phone. Now you can't do shit without either one of them.
Anything.
I mean, your phone, if you don't got a computer, your phone is damn near a computer right now. You know what I mean? So, but mostly everybody had to adjust to that.
Absolutely.
How many secretaries went from a typewriter to a damn desktop? You know what I mean?
All of them, exactly.
So you have to
basically
move.
even like from a pen and notepad to a tablet.
Right.
Where you have everything in there for your boss.
And music, if you stay the same, you will not be successful.
You can't just be stagnant.
No,
stagnant
have
water
to be
becomes moldy and toxic,
infested,
right? You can't be stagnant.
Destroyed.
You have to be moving.
Yes, you have to.
That was great. That was a great little one. You're welcome.
Sometimes you don't want to, but sometimes you have to go with the flow.
Exactly. Ooh.
You know what I mean? And figure it out along the way. But sometimes you got to make adjustments you don't want to make. I don't want to be tracked all the time, but
absolutely not.
How can you really function now? They made it to where now you can't really function without a cell phone.
Oh yeah, we can go into that. That's I feel like that's whole.
That's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole nother episode.
But
you can go into the conspiracies of how they want to track you down and all that crazy shit.
Yeah, and no matter what they got, they gonna get you. They gonna get you.
Absolutely. Like you've watched movies where it's like, you know, they've tracked him with their pin and they're this and they're that and, you know, whatever.
Enemy of the State was perfect. Perfect movie. You know, that dude, Will Smith couldn't do nothing, you know, but I think, you know, going back and telling yourself something, it's not so much that I wanted to tell myself something so I could make money. It's, because once I had kids, nothing was for me. You know, the benefits of everything I done is for them. You know, that's why you constantly reaching to go higher.
Absolutely. You want to be able to, I always hear it, like you want to be able to build a better life for your kids.
Yeah, you never want to be
what you didn't have.
I don't think your kids should be in the same boat you were.
No,
they should be they should be way further ahead of you.
Way better.
Yeah.
Why would I want my
you
kid
went through it
to be exactly like me? Like, why would I want them to be at my level when I know that they can succeed and do so much more?
You got to be better.
Why would I want to hold them back?
and your kid got to be better than you, and so on and
And
so
their
on.
kids got to be better than them, and
Yeah.
it's got to be a whole generational thing where you got to be better than the next generation. And it's like I said,
Yeah.
you can't stay stagnant. You can't just sit there and just
You can't
move.
And then not
you got to
with,
do something.
not with anything. The way things are going, you can't have that situation where you just plateaued.
Exactly.
You have to always be trying to climb. Hey, you hit the plateau, you got to find another mountain. You know what I mean? You got to
Absolutely.
find something else to
Figure
climb,
out
because
something
you
else
got
to
to
do.
constantly keep trying to go higher and higher.
We always have these conversations. We'll sit there and we'll just bullshit
Hmm.
until whatever time in like 3 o'clock in the morning, you know,
Oh,
like we're
yeah.
just bullshit. And,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you all the time, like human beings weren't made to sit down at a desk for 9 hours. Human beings weren't made to sit still for 9 hours and do one menial. thing
Your brain
to
doesn't
make
function
money.
that way.
Absolutely.
Regardless
not.
of what anybody thinks, I'm sorry if you disagree.
Kids weren't made to sit in school
No.
for 9 hours.
That's why they got recess.
writing. And that's why
Come
so
on.
many kids are diagnosed with ADHD, and then they have problems because he can't sit in his desk and he's squirming around. It's because he wasn't supposed to sit. Like Tommy's not supposed to be in a desk.
6 hours straight. You
No,
know, you
absolutely
gotta
not. He's
do
supposed to be
something.
running around. He's supposed to be minding. He's supposed
Yeah.
to, be like
Exploring.
exploring,
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's just
like fucking making crops and stuff like
There's
that.
so
Doing
much.
something that the community could like just really
yeah,
excel from, and like
not just the community,
But you know what I mean? Like, to be
for
better
them
for
to
it,
be
just,
able
like,
to
but
be
as-
self-sufficient.
exactly. But when you're self-sufficient and you can make and teach other people those trades
Hmm.
and have that back and forth, where it's like, I know something, I know how to do something, let me show you how to do it in forms, because like I know how to grow corn, right?
Hmm.
So I'm gonna show you how to grow corn because you know how to grow tomatoes, and you're gonna show me how to grow tomatoes.
Oh,
so we're
yeah.
gonna switch back and forth. So now we have corn and tomatoes.
Yeah.
But then Billy's got a cow. He's gonna teach us how to
Milk that son of a
milk
bitch.
and breed it, and
You know
then
what I'm
we're gonna
saying?
do that, and we build as a community, and then that's how it could have been. But no, now we get
Yeah.
now it's because somebody went up and said, you know what? Paper. That's what's more important.
Yeah,
Money.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
yeah.
God.
Like I said,
But we're going on a tangent.
Yeah, and that's what
Sorry.
we did. But like I said,
Keep it
you know,
sophisticated, guys.
when people were out south and moving west, you know, I'm talking about Western days when they would move from place to place, and they would build a town.
Absolutely.
There was nobody that everybody had something they knew how to do. You had
Mm-hmm.
a blacksmith, you had a banker, you had the barber, you had the gunsmith, you had
Most
the
importantly,
carpenter.
the bartender.
Yeah, you had the bartender, you had the carpenter, you had everybody,
everybody,
and
exactly.
everybody owned they shit.
Everybody had a trade,
Yes.
and absolutely everybody was an owner of their property.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, people don't own shit. You have to be a multimillionaire in order to own some property. You have to have so much money and backup and all this bullshit just to have a little piece of land. When who the fuck said? Like, who
They were
said you
building
own-
their
who
own
said
homes.
Who said you owned this shit?
Yeah.
When did we make this?
These people
Who
was
agreed to
building their own homes, building their own shops, building their own towns.
And being successful in a sense, and
Yeah, and
You
then
know,
when
like,
some
if we-
shit went down, they would completely leave that and do it all over again.
abandon it and move on to the next one.
Yeah. So I mean, you talk about being self-sufficient, and we are so far removed from that.
Absolutely, we rely on so much now.
There's so I'm driving and I see people on the road, and I'll be like, damn, that person don't even know how to change a tire. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
no.
that's some shit. I see people that would sit in their car and wait
it's
for
so funny
AAA.
because you sit there and like
You
when
can
know
Google
how
that
to do
shit.
something, but when you know how to do something,
Mhm.
you get made fun of it for it in a sense. Like you like practically get joked on for being self-sufficient. And
Man,
it's
I don't
like,
give a fuck what nobody
nerd,
say.
you know how to change
I
a tire? It's
don't
like,
give
yeah,
a
I
fuck.
do. You don't. Like that's
You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a. Oh, I got AAA. Well, guess what? I'm not about to pay
it's like
AAA
so do
to
I,
come.
but I also got a spare and a jack.
Yeah, I'm not
in
about
my trunk, and I know how to do this real quick. AAA is gonna get here in 3 hours. I'm gonna get this shit done in 20 minutes. Let's go.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. I got shit to do.
Yeah,
I don't got
exactly.
3 hours to wait for fucking AAA to pull up and change my fucking tire. You know what I mean? And that's just ridiculous. But that's because, you know, you got people that don't want to get their hands dirty, people that don't want to do it,
and people that are just not willing to learn it.
But it's,
you know, like we're
this is the
like
thing. You can Google anything.
Exactly, but you can literally, you know the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot force it to drink. Yeah. I can give you all of the tools and opportunity to learn something, but it doesn't mean you're gonna want it.
Yeah, yeah.
If you don't want to learn it, then you're not gonna want to do it.
No.
And that's what it is. If you want to be that stubborn, you wash your hands of it.
I think that's I think that's a big problem. So.
It's because people are now like getting lazy and less. They're so reliant on other things, and it's like, well, what would happen if internet shut down and just, you know?
So
we don't have our phones, we don't have our computers, we don't have our, you know, anything to connect us, and now we have to live off the grid. And you know, what are you going to do? What if money doesn't matter tomorrow?
How you start a fire without you know, I mean,
without
charcoal and lighter and all that shit? What you gonna do? You know, we was at a point with our kids. Now we have all this shit in our house, right? Mm-hmm. So our kids would come and say, "What does this word mean?" And it got to the point to where it was like, you know, if you don't want to ask Google, if you don't want to ask Alexa, so guess what you about to do? You about to go open up a dictionary and figure out how to do it. Every one of them, and I can guarantee you there's a lot of kids that don't know how to use the dictionary. Mm-hmm. My kids know how to use the dictionary.
And it's so funny because like I was taught, like I grew up in the era of like where the dictionaries were a thing, and then it slowly faded into Google and, you know,
like encyclopedias too.
Exactly. Where we had to go to libraries to look up things, and you know, we had to learn the Dewey Decimal System in order to like learn.
Libraries is damn near obsolete.
Exactly.
You got to go to a bookstore now.
It's like cyber cafes, and
so
you don't even have to go to the library. You can literally just pull this thing out of your pocket, and you have all of the information in the world at your hands. Mm-hmm. You know, and you're still not willing to want to learn things.
Yeah.
And do shit, and it's crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, you know, you be stagnant. I'm gonna move.
Look, on my Jeep, the steering column broke. I didn't know how to do it. I sit here and I googled it, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it, and I did that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, I might have spent a couple bucks on the parts, but I ain't spend $1,000 on fucking labor.
It's so hot. We have like a
bucket of fucking ice. We got a bucket of fucking ice. It's hot.
Right here. I had to grab some because our drinks are getting warm.
We pushing 100 plus. So you guys gotta excuse. If y'all hear some noise.
Dedicated redneck shit right now. You just gotta let it happen.
Hey, let's just let it go, okay? We trying to stay cool, and we trying to be cool, and keep this shit sophisticated.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, there's so much shit that you can learn without somebody teaching you or telling you, or you going to a mechanic, or you going to another person. You got the world is literally in your hands right here.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
It's literally at your fingertips, right?
But to play devil's advocate, there's a lot of misinformation in this motherfucker as well.
Absolutely, and you gotta be able to pick through it. But also, when it comes to what you were just saying, there's been plenty of times where it's like, you know what, I'm gonna get taken advantage of as a female going to a mechanic and saying, what's wrong with my car?
Absolutely.
You know, I was lucky enough to have my dad be no mechanic. Like, be mechanically inclined, own a shop,
Oh yeah.
know what he was doing, and teach me these things. And I would sit there, and sometimes I wasn't willing to learn, sometimes I was, and I'd had other people sit there and be like, you want to learn how to change a tire, you want to learn how to do your oil, you want to do this, you want to do that, and it's like, yeah. And
Fuck yeah.
and it's such a good thing to know, because if I'm stranded by myself and my car breaks down and I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on, I can easily, if I have internet connection, I can easily, like, cars making this noise, look it up,
Yes.
and, like, let me test out a couple of things and I can fix it. And
Bada
you feel
boom,
so
bada bing.
empowered when you do it as
Yes.
well, because it's like, fuck yeah, I did it by myself. Hell yeah, I didn't need anybody else. Ugh.
Trust
Like,
me.
hell yeah.
Trust me, when I had to pull that steering column out, that shit wasn't easy, but I got it
Oh,
done.
but when you got it done, like, just like when your wife was talking the other day about how she fixed the lawnmower.
Oh yeah.
And she was like, I did it, and I blah 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 blah, and I kicked its
I wa-
ass, and it's like,
I was
hell yeah.
I was taking my time on it, and I came out. She's like, what you about to do?" I said, "I'm about to try to take this carburetor apart. You know what I mean? Because I think it's clogged." She was like, "Let me do it. And if I need your help, I'll ask."
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
And she did it. I sat here and I was basically giving her tools, and she took care of it. You know what I mean? But that's the difference between, you know what I mean?
wanting to learn
Yeah.
and just not giving a fuck, and
Yeah.
just being like, I'd much rather have somebody else do it for me.
Right. Absolutely.
I'd much rather have somebody. I'd much rather pay the money. And I hate that phrase. Like, oh, just pay the money. I'd much rather just pay it out. It's like, nah, fucking get down and dirty. Learn how
Handle
to do that shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Get-
be
get-
self-sufficient.
Get dirt under
Like,
your fingernails. You can
It's
clean
not
that
gonna
shit
hurt
out.
you.
You know what I'm saying?
Pussy.
But yeah.
For fuck's sake.
Well, so we've had our spiel, and we went here, there, and everywhere. But at the end of the day, what would you guys out there? What would you tell your younger self?
Yes,
And it don't
please
have
let
to
us
be
know.
a teenager. You know, if you don't want to change your path. But what would you tell your?
Would you? Would you want to change your path?
Yeah,
Would
would
you
you?
want to
Maybe
keep
you
it the
do.
same? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Well, it doesn't matter. What age would you want to come to your younger self and start that have that conversation? It could have been like 3 years ago anarchy, or it could have been 16-year-old anarchy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter. We want to know. What would you want to tell them the lottery numbers?
Yeah. Like, what would you do?
Absolutely.
What would you do
Yes.
as far as that go? All right, you guys, we are about to get into sophisticated, complicated, or just hate it.
Oh yeah.
And today, sophisticated, complicated is past, present, or future. And this is actually, it's kind of tough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
You think about it, you could have anyone in each spot,
Mhm.
right? And it would make sense.
So what
But-
will be your sophisticated, complicated, or just hate it?
I was mulling this over for a minute.
Oh, I'm sure you
Before
were.
I
I'm
even-
sure you were.
Brought that to you as a suggestion, but I think now that you think about it, you're like, fuck, what would I say?
Yeah.
But
What would you place where?
I would probably place the present as just as complicated, right?
Okay.
Because there's certain times where I'm happy and I love that I'm in the present, and like, hell yeah. And there's certain times where it's like, man, I wish I could also like fast forward and
Yeah.
be at a
Get
better
this
place.
shit over
and-
with. Yeah.
Exactly, but also it's complicated, but it's also good because it's like you need to learn to like live in the present is what I'm always saying. You
Right.
need to learn to be in the present.
Right.
And the future is a little like the grass is always greener on the other side type of deal.
It could be, but we
You
don't
know?
know because it's the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like you want to think that like the future is going to be so much better and you're going to be at a certain place in 5-10 years,
Yeah.
when in reality could you, or like,
You
or are
just-
you still
you
going to be
don't
at
know.
the same exact place?
You
And it's
just
like
don't
you
know.
just don't know. And so that one's a little harder. Or why did I do this to myself?
It's not that easy. Is
It's
it?
not. It's not. But I think I would put maybe I guess I'll put the future as like just hated, maybe, because I feel like it's a little overrated in a sense.
The future is.
Yeah. Where everybody's thinking about what's gonna go happen ahead of time, where we're so focused on that we're not living in the present.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And the present, I would say, is complicated because you're living it.
Right.
You're in it now.
You
and
don't
you
know
have
what
your
the
ups
future
and your
holds.
downs. You don't know. You don't.
You're
don't know
going
what
through
the
it.
future
You're
holds,
going
and
through it.
Absolutely, and it's just one of those things. And I would put the past is sophisticated because you sit there and you think about it, and like I've been saying this entire episode, hindsight is 2020. You think about it, and you have those memories of like your loved ones that have passed away, and like that was all in the past. Like it becomes your memories, and it becomes nostalgia, and you have that love for it, and you also remember all of the good things and the bad things and what made you who you are now. So I think I would put that as
completely understand.
Yeah. What about you?
Your logic behind it. For me, this is very hard. I'm not gonna lie, this is very hard. For me, sophisticated is the present, and I say sophisticated. It's sophisticated because I try to live in the now. I don't really want to hold on too much to the past, even though I wouldn't be the man I am today if it wasn't for the past. But I try to let that go because that's extra baggage I don't need. I completely agree with you 100% on your past and
well that's
what the past is.
In a sense, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but in a sense, your past can be romanticized just like your future, right? But you've lived your past, so sometimes when you look back on it, you have these rose-colored glasses, and you're in love with it, and you're like, oh, I kind of wish I could go back and go back and live in the 90s and the early 2000s again, and have that like.
And again, the 90s was some good. It was good times, man.
Yes,
good fucking times. You feel me?
Also, in about 20 years, we're gonna be like, the 2010s and 2020s were pretty lit too. I remember when I was 30, 40, and we were getting it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And it sorry, continue. But it is what
it is. Yeah, but again, sophisticated is the present. And that's because I try to live in the now. I try to live in the present, and I try to stay in the present because right now the present's important. The future to me is complicated because I feel like I do have a small percentage of control.
Absolutely, that fork in the road.
Yeah,
thing,
because of your past, you know where you don't want to go.
Exactly.
So you already know what you're trying. Most of us know what we're trying to do and where we don't want to go. So you have some sort of direction due to your past. You know what I mean? So, to me, the future is complicated because we don't know where we're heading. But we're trying to direct ourselves in the right place, in the right path. And just hate it is, of course, the past. But I will say I don't really just hate it because, again, the past have molded me into the person that I am because of those life lessons. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And continue.
And because of those life lessons, you know, and learning so much and getting older and gaining the wisdom, I realized that a lot of things that happened, whether it was negative or positive, created the person that I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, things aren't failures, they're life lessons.
Yeah.
And with life lessons, that creates growth.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And I 100% agree with you on your answers
that's
too.
why.
And yeah, absolutely. And that's why I said earlier, like, you could really put any like little thing, any topic that we had, right? Past, present, future, you could put any of them into our answers.
Yeah.
Sophisticated,
Oh, yeah,
complicated,
absolutely.
age. You could interchange it, because if you know, like, my answers were different than yours, but
Oh,
we
yeah.
had the same exact reasons for those answers, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's like, I could fully understand why you had those reasons, and I could genuinely agree with you. And that would have been, if, you know, like, that probably would have been my answer, you know, if
Oh, yeah. And the
if I didn't say this one, and it would have been vice versa.
I could have had your
you know,
answer.
you could have had the
You
same
know what I
exact
mean?
answer. It would just depend
Because
on
I
what
felt
you're
your
thinking right now.
answers as well. As well.
And it's so true. So that's also why we want to know, what do you guys think?
You
Well,
know.
sophisticated, complicated, or hated, past, present, or future? Let us know.
What would you guys do? Again,
How would you categorize it, please?
keep it sophisticated.
Hell yeah.
All right, guys, it's time for Sophisticated Note. And today, we got Dax Retro with Indie Vibes. So we're going to check this out. And we want to know if you guys will gas or pass. Got it? Gas or pass? This is Dax Retro with Indie Vibes. All right, you guys, that was Dax Retro with Indie Vibes. Make sure you gas or pass that.
What do you think about it? Gas or pass?
I'm gonna gas it.
Yeah,
You know,
why?
the instruments.
Mm-hmm.
I dug that guitar. I
Yeah.
really did. I dug that guitar.
I have to completely agree with you.
I dug
think
those drums. You know,
It was a fucking vibe.
it was.
Completely.
It was.
had-
And it's
it
called
had-
Indie Vibes, but
It
I
was
dug
a
it.
fucking indie vibe, bro. I liked it. I honestly, genuinely, really, really liked it. I think we both, like, we were just sitting there both
just
doing the same
vibing
thing,
to it.
just
You know what I mean? And a
head
lot of
bobbing,
times,
listening to it, and we were catching that little like melody and
yeah. I almost
I-
didn't want to stop it. Just say that.
genuinely, I honestly felt the same. I was just like, lower it down, keep it playing in the background.
Yeah.
We can do our outro with it playing. I honestly
Yeah.
genuinely really liked it, and it reminded me a lot of other. There was this one particular instrumental band. I don't want to butcher the name, but I think it's called like Polyphia or something along those lines. But it had the same type of vibe.
Yeah.
And it was a full band, but there was no vocalist. It was, it was just this
Just
type
instruments, and it
just
sounds
in
beautiful.
Instrumentals, and that's that type of like just driving down PCH, thinking, just trying to clear your mind type of music, or sitting there wanting to do your art and like trying to manifest music. Like it just had a certain vibe, and I just really, really fucking liked it. So
Yeah, I did too.
100% gas it.
Definitely gas it
Yeah,
for me.
you guys let us
also.
know what you think, gas or pass. I think it's gonna be pretty high. But
Hell yeah, I dug that.
I did, absolutely.
I'm gonna send a shout out to Dax Retro. Thank you for sending us your music. Also,
if you guys want us to listen to your shit, please send it to us.
Yes,
we would
send
love
it to
to
us.
play it.
Send it to us, and if
Absolutely.
y'all want to gas it, please let us know if you want to gas it. Like I said, probably at the end of this season, I want to make something with all the stuff that's been gassed. So please gas it or
We
pass
could
it.
probably drop like a Spotify playlist or something.
Yeah, exactly. And also, if you're looking for Dax Retro, you can find him on SoundCloud. And also DistroKid. But Gas or Pass, Dax Retro, Indie Vibes. And with that being said, we're going to go out
All right.
on Dax Retro.
Hell yeah. Y'all keep it sophisticated. Follow us on everything.
Instagram,
Subscribe to
Sophisticated
our YouTube.
SOM.
Comment. Please interact with us. Let us know what you guys want to hear.
Yes.
What you guys want our next
YouTube,
podcast to be about.
Sophisticated SOM.
Absolutely.
Twitter, Sophisticated. You can find us on TikTok. We like to fuck around on TikTok, Sophisticated
just
SOM.
A new Snapchat. So please follow
Made a
us
new
on that.
Snapchat, Sophisticated.
SOM.
Yep.
On
Also,
everything.
coming soon, well, we have Patreon, but exclusive content on Patreon. So if you want to see some behind
You
the
wanna
scenes
see
or
more
some
of our
crazy shit,
bloopers and bullshit.
check us out on Patreon,
Please.
Sophisticated SOM.
Absolutely.
We appreciate y'all, and as always, keep your pinkies up and your dicks out. Cheers. And we out this bitch.